I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bistelli? Here. Mrs. Billings?
Here.
Mr. Sirianni?
Here.
Dr. Selly?
Here.
Mr. Pallone?
Here.
I hereby certify that this meeting has been published in the newspaper in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and posted as required by law.
Okay, so tonight we have 3 items on the agenda. First 3 is Chief Roebuck. Will tell us about Class 3 Special Police Officers. Next, Mr. Hayes will discuss a property sale at 611 Warford Avenue, and then the review of the regular meeting agenda. So, Chief Roebuck.
Good afternoon. Good evening, actually. How are you? Class 3s, I sent you this, or had the clerk send you all this. It should explain most of the program about it. I spoke to the superintendent about this probably last year at some point. They wanted to talk about it a little bit, see what they were going to do with the money, the budget, and then Parkland happened. The shooting in Florida happened. They had a superintendent's meeting, Monmouth County meeting, and I got the call later that day that they wanted to pursue this. On a Friday afternoon, they called and said, "All right, remember what you asked us last year? You know, we want to go ahead and pursue this Class 3 program." So we went over there and we talked. They originally wanted to start with 3 officers. I think they want to start with 2, and then they went to 3. And about a week later, they called me back and said they want to do 9 because they want to do 1 for each school. Because the problem becomes, how come they're not in my school if they're in another school, and my kids aren't as, important as the kids in this school. So it's kind of what I thought was going to happen. So they're asking for 9. We started looking around, seeing who was interested in it, interviewed a few people. We're going to hopefully be able to start with 3 people in the near future, if this all goes, and hopefully by September be up to 9 people. They are paying for the salaries, and whatever comes with the salaries. Mike's not here, but I know the FICA, Social Security, all that stuff, that's all on them. The only thing we are paying for is to equip them, radios, guns, psychological evaluations, and uniforms, that kind of stuff, which kind of works out for us because if at some point this doesn't go forward in 2, 3, 4 years, we'll still have the radios and the guns and all that stuff. It will still belong to us. Class 3s will be under our control. They work for us.
But I was going to say, who were they employed by?
They are employed by the City of Long Branch. They work for us. They are employed for 9 months at a time. There's no civil service laws or anything like that. If we don't like them, if it doesn't work out, we can say thank you very much and we can move on to someone else or decide not to do it anymore. We've had extensive talks with the schools. We both know what we want them to do. We're on the, we have the same idea for it. They don't want them to do something that we don't want them to do, and we're not going to have them do any more than they're asking for. So that's important. It's also important to find the right person for this, and we think we found a few of the right people. It's going to be hard to find the right people because most of the other towns' chiefs that I've spoken to are also going to do this. I had 2 calls this weekend from 2 chiefs from 2 other towns in Monmouth County speaking about this Class 3 and saying that they're going to go ahead and do it, and that's on top of the other 10 or 15 or 20 that I know were already into it. Like we are already sort of moving down the path to do it. We are writing up a memorandum of agreement with the schools that has to be blessed by Mr. Aaron and everybody else. Make sure it's good to go. We just finished with that today, so that's where we're at with it. Any questions or comments or anything you have? Yes.
Could you just repeat who's eligible to be a Special 3?
Who's eligible? So the law is written that it can only be a retired police officer, state trooper, or sheriff's officer. No one that has worked in the jail, and no one that's a federal law enforcement officer either, because we've had both actually come and want to work here, and we said the law, after speaking to PTC, who does the waivers for Class C, they said that this is the way the law is written. It can only be these three people, right? You know, sheriffs, police, and state troopers. That's it.
What's the relationship going to be between this present school security and the specials?
So they're still going to be there.
Okay.
They do two completely different things.
Okay.
They have a lot more latitude based on the law to do things because they're an arm of the school than we do. So they're still going to use them in the exact same manner than they have been used. Our guys aren't going to get involved in any day-to-day instances. If someone's being loud and, you know, they have an incident, yeah, our school security is going to handle that. We're not going to get involved in that, because if we get involved in that, then we're not there for what we're really there for.
Which
right?
is?
Which is to secure it and make sure that something like that shooting doesn't happen, or at least be there. So if we're doing other things, we're not watching the entrances, looking at the video cameras, walking around the schools, doing what we should be doing, then, you know, we're not interested in kind of what the
So it's
kids
just
are doing.
another layer.
It's just a layer of security. You have locked doors, now you have an armed person in there, so it's just another layer. Will it stop everything? No, nothing will, but it's another layer.
And they will be able to carry their gun?
Correct.
The school is okay with that?
Absolutely.
They'll be covered under the city's insurance in the event, and I hate to use Parkland as an example, but the security guard or one of the police officers, I understand, allegedly went outside rather than
Didn't go in when he
didn't go in.
might have, should have.
Now, I don't know
probably
what
gone
the
in.
facts are,
I don't either.
but those are the kind of things that we hope would never happen here, but we would potentially, as a city, be responsible for the insurance for that.
Right, and part of this program is they would train with us every year. We have active shooter training every year. They would train with us, they would go to the range with us, they would shoot with us, they would go to all our training. Anything that a Class 2 or a full-time officer has to do, they have to do also.
I don't
So
think
they-
this is a reason not to do it
No.
at all, but I just want to bring it out that there is a.
They'll be uniformed?
They'll be uniformed.
Will they also have orientation for students and staff about the role of the?
Yeah, so we discussed that, come up with a few ideas about how they're gonna roll that out when they get there. One of the suggestions from one of the people that we were looking to actually do this job said, I think you should have a big, like an assembly, and call them all in and say, this is gonna be your officers in the school, this is his name, and let him meet everybody and talk to everybody. We thought that was a really good idea, actually, and that came from him, that didn't even come from us.
I think,
So
I think
that was his
the
idea.
student should know what the role.
Who it is and what he's here to do, and you know what, actually let him get up in front of them and say, hey, this is me, here's what I'm gonna do, here's what I'm not gonna do, this is gonna be my job, and I'm looking out for you. And the guys that we found are really, really good. They really wanna do this, they like working with kids, they've been working with kids over their last, I don't know how many years, so some of them work in schools now, not armed, not under this Class 3 program, but not our school, but different schools. So this is kind of what they like to do, so.
I've been
they're into
reading
it.
articles from all over the country about where these kind of programs have been extremely successful in preventing problems, and you know, the officers, whether you call it a public resource officer or discipline or a police officer, interacting with kids and the staff. You know, most of the fears they're going to get involved in ordinary discipline.
Right,
They're
and
not there for that. They're not going to be there for that.
and they get that,
The
but
parents love you.
and these guys get that, and they understand what they're supposed to be doing. And we sat right in this room with them, with superintendent, the assistant superintendent, and a few of us, and we actually interviewed them right in this room, and we asked them, give them certain scenarios, what would you do? And they all know, exactly what to do. They all know that that although they're not there for that there is going to be times where they're going to speak to the kids, talk to the kids, talking about the uniform, talk to them about what they do and that kind of stuff. And they've all done that stuff and they like doing that stuff. And one of them gave a really good example. He said, how did you help somebody in your lesson? And he said, there was, one kid that was really angry all the time, and I'd grab him and talk to him and say, hey, what's going on? And I kind of, so they like to work with the kids. They like to, these three that we found like to work with the kids in the school. I think they'll be very good. We have some other people that we're looking out to hopefully round out the 9 of them. But I really think it's all about finding the right people to put there.
How quickly can you get a draft?
The draft was just done today. It was just sent
To the board?
to me about 4:30. I was going to send it to you guys before we sent it over. I made a couple changes and sent it back. They sent it back to me. So I was going to send it to you guys today, and we can get it to them probably in a day or two, as long as you're okay with it.
No, I'm sensing that there's urgency to do this. Did
They
you
want-
give
they wanna
time
do
to
this-
get this ready for September.
They want to do this right now. We want to start with 3, for the rest of this year. They want it May 1st. I don't know if that'll happen. It could be close to May 1st. I mean, we're close to ready to go. It's probably just a paperwork thing at this point, as long as everybody's okay with it and on board with it.
10th.
Right. But we could start, if everybody's fine with it, we can start getting these guys in. They have to take a physical, they have to take a site, we have to get them uniforms, we have to do all that stuff before.
And a background check.
Background check's done. So we did that prior to even speaking with them. We got a bunch of them. We picked out who we thought was the best, did all their backgrounds, and then brought them in for the.
So Chief, they'll be during regular school hours typically?
Typically, they can also work after school at some of the events, some of the parent-teacher, workshops or conferences. It's going to be kind of up to the school when they want them there. Hours is, we haven't really decided on the hours yet. Are they going to come in the morning and leave right at the bell, or is one going to come in later? Or they kind of change the hours around, and they might do it depending what's happening for the day.
Do they have to watch out for a certain amount of income based on their pensions?
No, there's no one really knows how many hours they can work. So because they don't work all year, they only work for 9 months. I've heard, okay, well, they can work like 36 hours per week. Other people said, no, they can work the full 40 because they're not there during the summer, so the whole year kind of averages out to 32. If you average it like that, we haven't really figured out what exactly the law says about that.
Just my experience
Mhm.
with education, you keep adding those evening things that can.
It gets longer and longer. That's going to be on them. We're going to have to let them, with how much money they give us, they'll have to figure out how they want it. We also, at some point, probably are going to hire an extra few that are going to be able to just
Explain.
on call. If somebody can't make it, somebody's sick, somebody's on vacation, we want to, by the fall, probably have an extra few guys just to say, hey, listen, if somebody can't make it, he's out sick for a couple days, we'll grab it that way. That school's not missing a person for 2 or 3 days or a week, right? Or if they want them to come in maybe after school for a game, basketball game, they can grab that guy for 3 or 4 hours and it won't impact everybody else, so.
What's the salary?
That's going to be up to the school. Obviously, it doesn't have us. We are, they started at 25. We told them 25 to 30 is probably a better idea. They said they were okay with 30. Some of the discussions I've had with other chiefs, I know it's creeping up to around 30. We may start it at 27.50 and go up from there for the first year if we like them, something like that. The chief I talked to the other day, I know Freehold Township's looking between 30 and 32. I just talked to their chief. That's what they're looking at doing. So it's.
And do they have theirs in all their buildings in Freehold?
They're just starting now, so they're a little bit behind us. They'll probably start for September, but it's really become a problem finding qualified people. You can find anyone to do it. It's kind of hard to find the right person to do it.
So the city's handling the paperwork in terms of payment and so forth? In other words, the board will pay the city and then the city pays them?
So what will happen, the way we're going to do it, Mike reviewed it, and we're going to run it through the trust fund so there's no adverse impact to the salary budget. So what they'll do is the school will post money in escrow, just like they would if you're hiring a cop to direct traffic, and they'd be paid out of that. So they'll post the money monthly in advance to cover the salaries, and we'll pay them out of that, and then they'll replenish the following month.
And I think we wrote into the thing that at the end of the year, if there's any money left, obviously we're gonna
Yeah, it's escrow.
refund them their money at the end of the year, and then they'll begin again with the new year.
Sounds great.
So I guess we're looking for consensus to put the agreement on the meeting of the 10th, and if you're all good with us starting the process in advance, getting you guys in, if everyone's good with that.
Everybody good?
They're talking about starting in sometime in May, possibly.
The school would like us to start May 1st. I just don't think we're going to be able to make that, but maybe in the middle of May, the first week or two in May, if we can get everybody in. If we can start the process by the end of this week, by next week, we can probably do their psychological and their physical, send them down to get measured for uniforms, and we'll be able to at least grab a few of them in the
Do you
next
have
few
a
weeks.
specific uniform that they'll be
They're
wearing?
going to be wearing the same uniform as our guys were on the road, the Class C. There's, we have a Class 2 patch. Supposedly there's a Class 3 patch. No one's seen it yet, but they have to wear the Class 3 patch on their, but it hasn't come down from the state yet. So they'll be wearing the same uniforms that
So
that our
the
guys
schools
wear.
will be unprotected with this program during their summer programs? Is that the way it lays out?
As of now. There is something written into the law that one person, I believe, can work all year. So if that's something they want to do in the future, that's going to be up to them.
I think they got some growing pains. They changed a few things around.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little bit till we figure out what they want to do with it and how they want to go. But there is something in the law that you can have somebody all year round just for that. Summer programs, set up training for the summer's drills and all that stuff. They have one guy that will kind of run it if they want to have them all year long. Most of these guys don't want to work all year long. They want to work 9 months and then have their summers off. So
What kind of training will they get prior to being placed in the schools?
within a year, they have to go to school resource officer training. Most of these people that we're speaking at already have it and have already worked in the schools. If not, we'll get them to that training the next time we can get them to it, whether it's over the summer or before September. They'll have to qualify with us because they'll be using our gun, so they'll have to qualify with us before they go in and do any other training that the PTC wants them to do before they get their Class 3 waiver.
So we have a consensus. Kate, you're good?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Joy?
Very good.
Jane? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Hayes, moving on to 611 Warford. That's the property, I guess, it didn't sell, or? is that-
Yes, so we advertised it for sale and no one came. We advertised it as we discussed with you for the assessed value of $93,600. So the question is, do you want us to redo it again? Do you want us to lower the starting price? What would you like us? What's your pleasure?
Do it again, but go with the price. The price we took from the tax roll.
Yes,
Was
sir.
the
It's the assessed value.
Assessed value.
So this came about because a neighbor was
Yeah,
interested, right?
yeah, he's had attorney contacts and pushed it, and he never showed up, but we believe he's since contacted you, right, Kat?
An attorney contacted me for someone, I don't know who he's representing, but he said he's definitely interested and will be here the next
His
week.
client is interested, yeah. So, we don't know if you want us to re-advertise it, you want to change the minimum bid, whatever you want us to do.
I'd like to re-advertise at the same price.
Same price. We advertised.
I agree.
The cost to advertise it the first time, and whatever the preparations, and met with the clerk, discussed it with her, we figured that it's about $500. My only question is, if you've got somebody interested, would you advertise it or consider advertising it for the assessed value 93.6 plus the prior costs that the city's undertaken? I just mentioned it to you.
No, I think we should just leave that.
Well, let me ask you, why would we, if the individual who was most interested didn't show up, why would we even advertise it again at all?
I understand that this is a different individual with a different attorney. And
Oh, I see.
I don't know who the attorney is or the individual, but someone did contact Kathy.
I see.
Yeah. That's the reason. For the same individual, I would recommend it.
Right, that's what I understand. All right, so what is the thought to advertise at the same?
Same price.
Same price.
Mary Jane? Okay. Joe, you're good? Okay. Okay, next is a review of the regular meeting agenda. Any questions?
I have a question. Regarding the two Sensi ordinances. These are both based on a settlement agreement with Metosa, correct?
Correct.
Correct. If the council, for some reason, voted no on this, what were the ramifications to the city?
For Mr. Aaron, I think.
The city could be sued for violation of the settlement agreement, be brought into court, sought the relief together with attorney's fees and costs, because it's a settlement that was entered into between the city and the Metosa property owners going back to.
So this ordinance is basically just memorializing that they are going to get this tax abatement just one time, and that's the end of it.
Pursuant to the settlement agreement, exactly. There's no deviation.
That's all I had.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, I need a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? I need a motion to adopt a resolution to go into executive session for the following items. I'm sorry, one second. Under contract negotiations, we have crossing guard contract with Mr. Hayes. And we also will be adding under litigation, Edward with Mr. Aaron and Corman with Mr. Aaron.
Thank you.
So can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bastelli?
Yeah.
Mrs. Billings?
Yes.
Mr. Siriani?
Yes.
Dr. Selly? Yeah. Mr. Blake?
Yes.